Leadership will stretch you, grow you, and challenge everything you thought you knew about yourself. And there's a part no one warns you about, the moments when it feels like you're carrying it all alone. They tell you about the meetings, the deadlines, strategies, the decisions. What they don't tell you about is the quiet ache that can settle in your chest, in your gut. This sense that even in a room full of people, it's like no one truly sees the weight you're holding. It's the loneliness that often comes with growth. And it's one of the hardest parts of being a courageous leader. Welcome back to the Courageous Exchange. I'm Deb Carville, and this is the part that no one really says out loud. Leadership might feel lonely sometimes, but it doesn't have to stay that way. This isn't just something I've seen in others, it's something I've lived. And I wonder, maybe you felt it too. You start showing up differently, leading with more courage, setting clearer boundaries, stepping into your voice. And then you notice the conversations you used to have with colleagues, they don't land the same. Old friendships feel a little more distant. Even your team, the people you care so deeply about, seem to see you as more of the leader than as you. This doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. It's because growth creates a gap between where you were and where you're going. And in that in-between space, loneliness can quietly settle in. I remember a time early in my leadership journey when this hit me hard. I had stepped in as an acting manager for a large technical team, holding accountability for end-user technologies across the entire organization. It was a season of high stakes and high visibility. Every decision I made had a ripple effect, impacting not just systems and processes, but thousands of people relying on those technologies to do their work. I was making choices I felt deeply aligned with, choices grounded in both technical strategy and care for people those systems served. But not everyone saw it that way. There were whispers, second guessing, subtle pushback in meetings. And it wasn't just from others. It was from myself too. I'd lie awake at night wondering, am I out of my depth? Am I making the right calls? Or am I too different from how others would lead this? It was one of those stretches of leadership where you know you're walking a path that feels right, but it also feels like you're walking alone. What you're feeling right now, it's less about losing connection and more about expanding into the next chapter of your leadership. When you step into courageous leadership, when you start leading from integrity and heart, you naturally shift. And sometimes the people around you aren't ready for that. But that doesn't mean you'll always be walking alone. There is a part no one really says out loud. It's possible to build a new circle, one that aligns with who you're becoming, not just who you've been. And yes, it might feel a little like making new friends as an adult, which honestly can feel really awkward at first. We're so used to relationships forming naturally in school, at the start of our careers, or through shared life stages. But as leaders, there comes a point where we have to intentionally seek out people who lift us, challenge us, and remind us we're not alone in the work. And this isn't just something I talk about, it's something I've experienced myself. Recently, I had the privilege of being part of a Train the Trainer course. I went in eager to learn, not just new techniques, but to grow as a leader and personally, to challenge myself, to expand how I show up for others, and to keep becoming the best version of me. What surprised me most, though, wasn't the content or the tools, it was the people. In just a few days, I found myself surrounded by a group of leaders who carried the same energy, compassion, and quiet strength I value so deeply. We connected, not just about training techniques, but about the messy human side of leadership, the doubts, the hard decisions, the times you feel like you're carrying it all. It reminded me that connection doesn't always come from the places we expect. Sometimes it finds us when we step into new spaces with an open heart. And that circle, those people are now part of mine. And here's something I hold close. You'll often find they need you as much as you need them. Here's why even one trusted person in your circle matters so much. Studies in neuroscience show that meaningful connection helps regulate your nervous system. When we feel safe to share, we activate the parasympathetic nervous system. You know, that part of us that signals calm and repair? Friendships as adults, even just one or two, can lower cortisol levels. They can reduce feelings of isolation, and it increases oxytocin, the bonding hormone that helps us feel seen and supported. A 2023 study published in the Nature Neuroscience even found that adult friendships are linked to greater emotional resilience. It turns out our brains aren't wired to go it alone, especially in leadership. This isn't just about being heard, it's about hearing someone else too. Offering your presence, giving back in those moments when you hold space for another leader. That reciprocity, being both supported and supportive, is where real courage and growth happen. So what about you? How do you begin creating these kinds of connections? Let's start small. Start brave. Reaching out can feel uncomfortable. I know. There's that little voice that whispers, what if they're too busy? What if they don't want to connect? What if I sound awkward? Here's what I've learned. Most people are longing for the same thing you are, a meaningful conversation, a chance to be seen, to talk about the real stuff, not just the deadlines and deliverables. You don't need a crowd, you need one connection. So here's my invitation. Think of someone, maybe a colleague, a mentor, or even that person on LinkedIn you admire. Reach out, invite them for a coffee chat, virtual or in person. Keep it simple. Maybe say something like, I've been reflecting on leadership lately and would love to hear your thoughts. Would you be open to a coffee chat? It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real. Here's your reflection for this week. Who is one person you could reach out to for a meaningful conversation? And what might open up if you let yourself take that small, brave step? Not just to be heard, but to offer your presence too. And here's a power pivot for you to carry forward. When you're tempted to believe you're in this alone, remind yourself one brave conversation can change everything. This isn't about building a network, it's about building a lifeline for you and for the leader on the other side of that call who might be waiting for someone like you to reach out. Your voice, your story, your presence, it might be exactly what they need today. And theirs might be exactly what you need too. Leadership can feel lonely at times, yes, but connection is closer than you think. The circles we long for are often built one conversation at a time, one brave invitation, one moment of saying, hey, I see you, and I'd love to hear your story. And remember, you'll often find they need that conversation just as much as you do. So go ahead, reach out, start small, start brave. And if it feels right, I'd love to hear from you too. Connect with me. Share what this episode stirred for you, or even just to say hello. Because this space, it's here for you. Until next time, remember, courage is contagious, and so is connection.